what is the interview format of investment banking internship?
Yeah. Again, like it's very different between the firms. But I mean, you can definitely expect it to be at least 4 interviews. And those interviews are comprised of both behavioral and technical. At Citi, they do a case study. So you'll do an hour case study, and then you'll move into your first interview of that's behavioral. It's mainly focused on your experiences. And then you'll move into the next interview, which will be about the case study. And then you'll move into the next interview, which will be strictly technical. So they want to judge your capabilities of, if you were to hit the desk right now, like what could you provide? What value add do you have for us? And then the final one would be another behavioral, but more focused on your experiences, like your leadership experiences. There's basically just 2 behaviorals, 1 case study, and then 1 technical. That's like that. They were longer though. So like each interview was about 45 minutes. So it was plus the 1 hour case study. So you're looking at like about 3.5 hours of interviewing. But when I went to an elite boutique, and I won't name drop it, so I don't scare anyone if there's someone on the line that's going to be interviewing there. But I went in at 8:30 in the morning, and I didn't leave until 1:30 p.m. So it was like I had a 45-minute break for lunch, and then it was back to interviewing, just back to back to back to back. It was like 7 or 8 interviews. Of just like behavioral was a mix, behavioral and technical. It was for a capital markets role. So a lot of the questions were about the markets. And it was for equity capital markets. So I should specify that it was about follow-on offerings, different IPOs that were happening in the space. So it's different between if you're going for a role in M&A rather than versus a coverage team versus like a capital markets sort of role. So I would say, but the overall gist of it is kind of what I mentioned earlier.
Great. Thank you so much for the answer. So what do you think are the 3 tips for students to make themselves prepare for career in investment banking?
Definitely if you want to career in investment banking and you're a student like me, you should be talking to a lot of people and asking questions, identifying if this is something that you want. And the only way to do that is by, in my personal opinion, the only way to really know that is by trying it yourself. So you need the internship before you commit to 2 years of this. And then if you want the internship, then you need to get the internship. So you should be networking. You should be applying to different diversity days so that you can get the opportunity to interview. I think it's really important to also kind of identify a firm that you're looking for and that you want to target. So getting on the phone with as many people as you can from certain firms that you're looking at, asking them about what they do, what it took for them to get to where they're at. I think that's really important. And, really understanding investment banking, like what they do, a lot of times, and like, it's not, it's not bad. I mean, it's bad, but it's not like if you're talking to someone on the phone and you ask a question, like that's an investment banker, and you say, oh, you guys trading stocks and issuing different types of insurances, like just questions that are not related to investment banking whatsoever. And you've already done like 17, you've done a lot of calls of networking about investment banking. You haven't gotten there, like understanding fundamentally what they do. Then that's kind of a red flag for you to be like, okay, I need to definitely be researching investment banking more so I understand what they're actually doing. So understanding what they're doing and networking is a big part of breaking into investment banking.
Fantastic, really valuable tips. So based on that only, John, I would like to ask you, so what are the 5 most important questions asked in the interview for IB internship?
The 5 most important questions to ask, if you get 5, like in one interview, that's like probably too much. But I mean, I would say like spread out between like all your interviews. You should definitely be asking, I wish like maybe at the end of this call, I can maybe drop a link of, I don't know if I'm able to do that, but we'll find that out. But I think like there's this article online that highlights it really well. But definitely not like, I'll tell you what not to first, so that that's on there too. Like you're not asking first, like what what do investment bankers do. You're not asking kind of what they do on a day-to-day in the interview. I don't think that's really good. And you shouldn't be kind of asking about their personal life and the hours. You shouldn't be asking about the pay. But you should be focused on kind of the anything revealing about the firm, the team, and kind of their value add without mentioning the day-to-day. If you word it like, oh, what do you do on a day-to-day? It's like you don't know, and it's like, why are you here? So, but if you say, oh, how do you contribute to your team and what's your role specifically within your favorite deal? Then you're kind of revealing to them, okay, they're going to talk about their favorite deal and they're going to talk about what their function was, which will be revealing to you as to what they do kind of on a day-to-day. Because they have deals every day, or they're not new deals, but they're working on a deal every day. So kind of asking about a deal would be a good question. What's their favorite deal? The question that I mentioned earlier, which kind of revealed 2 topics, what they do. So that's 3. And then something about the firm. If there's any recent news about the firm that you're interviewing with and you're able to ask on that, that's really good. That separates a lot of candidates from the good candidates from the bad candidates. If, like, for instance, Citi, when I interviewed, I believe that the team was just completing a deal that I was kind of like let in on. I didn't know any specifics, just knew that they were working on this deal out in a certain region. I went on Bloomberg and started doing some extra digging and found the deal. And they were like, okay, like I mentioned that in the as a question. Oh, how was this? I heard this person was working on this deal, and I saw it just closed. How did that do? So that's for asking about that sort of specific firm group question. And then if you really want to go above and beyond and you feel like you're connecting with the interviewer and he's very open, you could potentially ask, like, I know one of my good friends, he had a full interview of just talking about his interest in perfumery. So like if, at the end of the interview, he asked the other guy, what are your interests? And like, are you interested in something super specific? I don't know. That might be a question that you could potentially ask. And he was doing investment banking at like a top bulge bracket firm. And like his whole interview was about his interest in perfumery. So first of all, you never know where the interview will go. And then second of all, those are kind of the 5 questions.
Great. Thank you so much. So what are the 3 best resources to keep you updated with development in investment banking industry?
I think like some sources that would be really helpful to prepare for, investment banking and keeping up. Wall Street Journal is helpful for just finance in general. I think but to keep up with like deals, you can look up Deal Book. You can look up Pitch Book. The Pitch Book is more for the buy side sort of deals, but I think I've seen a couple deals, at least from the tech side, that were on there, from the sell side point of view, investment banking, I should say. But Wall Street Journal is really good. The New York Times and Deal Book those are really strong sources. I think something else that, besides keeping up with the investment banking industry, but to continue like refreshing your mind and your technicals, is just going on Wall Street Oasis and finding different types of guides that they have for investment banking. And then that will be helpful, or, breaking into Wall Street, mergers and acquisitions. These are just some sources that I think continually help you prepare for an internship from a technical side. Not just keeping up with like the industry and like what's happening from a deal side. So from a deal side, the 3 sources that I mentioned earlier, and then from kind of preparing for the internship and technical stuff and keeping up with different recent valuation that could be used and changes in that way. Wall Street Oasis, breaking into Wall Street, and mergers and acquisitions are also really good.